Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2012 Toyota Prius C. Up front is a 1.5 liter inline 4 as well as a hybrid system, and down below is a CVT. Now I am super excited to be driving this Prius C for two reasons. First of all, I've never driven the C. I've driven tons of Priuses or Prii, whatever that word is, here on the channel in the past, but I've never done the C. C stands for city, and this is the smaller, more urban-friendly Prius, or at least it was until its American discontinuation in 2019. The other reason is that this has 376, almost 377,000 miles on it. It's nearing 400,000 miles, and so this is going to be an interesting case study as to what has gone wrong and some issues to look out for if you're looking for your own Toyota Prius C. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out. I come out to you, and you would get a video of your car, just like the one you're watching now, of this Prius C. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter and hybrid system under the hood. Well, it's nothing really too crazy, cool, or interesting. However, efficiency is the name of the game when it comes to the Prius C in more ways than one, but we'll start off with talking about the engine. From the factory, this got 48 miles to the gallon in the city and 43 miles to the gallon on the highway, which are fantastic numbers, especially over a decade ago. We love to see numbers like that, and the Prius C definitely delivered. Driving it around, no, it's not going to be powerful. It's not going to be fast, even with that electric system on board, but that's okay. It's not what the Prius C was for. Like I said, paired to it is a CVT. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of CVTs. However, in hybrid applications, when it is switching between gas and electric modes, CVTs actually do feel a little bit more natural in that environment. So it's fine here. Last but not least, of course, the Prius C is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the Prius C? Well, I have to tip my cap to a couple of things. First of all, visibility is great for this size and category of vehicle. Steering is good. Throttle is fine for what it is. It's just a car. It's easy and simple to drive, and I would trust anyone I know to drive this car in a safe manner, and I can't say that about all the cars I feature here on the channel. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I actually don't get anything directly. There is an aftermarket. There's some storage here, which has now been taken up by a phone holder and an aftermarket backup camera screen. But on the steering wheel on the left, I have my volume, skip track, and mode button, as well as my phone options. And off to the right, I have my temperature. Love to see that on the steering wheel. Most cars don't do that anymore. Actually, almost all cars don't do that anymore. Display and trip. And the overall steering wheel, as you can tell, has been through a couple of things, but you'll see that throughout the rest of the interior. Off to the left is a climate control vent, power mirror adjustment switches, and the gauge dimmer switch. Moving out of the door, we have a tiny speaker. This is one of 4 speakers in the car, 2 in the driver's door, 2 in the passenger door. That's it. Then we have the power locks and power windows. Now, the power window switch has been worn, but it still works almost 400,000 miles later. Very, very impressive. Moving into the center, we have our digital speedometer, as well as what gear we're in and fuel. I love this retro look for 2012. Then we do get a little information screen. Now, as you can see, there is a stripe going down the screen. This is a defect that has been accumulated somewhere over the 376,000 miles this car has covered. It's not normally there. And I do also have a check engine light on, which is from the batteries, and we'll talk about that in the final thoughts segment. But I do like the look and design of the screen, and the Prius is known for having the gauge cluster sort of up and out of the way. This is really sort of a blending of the Prius and the Yaris, which the Yaris, in its first generation known as the Echo, had gauges in the center. So kind of all makes sense in Toyota's hierarchy. Then we have 2 climate control vents, hazard switch, and the radio. We do have aux and USB, however, it's found way off to the right in front of the passenger. Kind of interesting placement there. Then we have our climate controls. Very simple, giant dial for temperature, auto, fan speed, defrost, all the niceties there. Then we do have a 12-volt outlet and some cubbies along with the cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Prius C, and unfortunately it fails not only with the width of the bottle, but the height of the bottle is also an issue here in the Prius C. Then we come to the shifter. Now, this is very interesting because every other Prius has the Prius-styled shifter. It was a shifter designed just for the Prius, and now we find that actually trickling into modern Lexus products, this sort of left and forward, left and back style shifter. But this doesn't have that. This is actually a shifter from a Yaris, just with the blue top put on it to look like a Prius shifter. Very, very interesting. Then we do have Eco mode and EV mode, so this vehicle can be driven on EV mode when the battery is healthy, which, as I mentioned, this vehicle doesn't have. Then we have a little cubby, a physical handbrake, and the seats. The seats are very hard and unforgiving. As soon as I sat down, I was not having a pleasurable time. And unfortunately, that's kind of the name of the game with cars like this. I'm definitely looking at the Chevy Spark of the same era. The Chevy Spark had very, very hard seats as well. So, not happy about it, but what can you do? Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, let's see if these seats are as hard as the front seats. I have a feeling that they will be. Oh, I don't know, actually. They feel like they have a little bit more give to them. I mean, maybe the front seat after 400,000 miles is just bottomed out. But we're in the back of the Prius C. Headroom is starting to become an issue. I'm 5'11". If I squat down a little bit, make a couple skid marks, I can actually sit normally. Oh, the intrusive thoughts are winning today. I don't get any features back here at all. I don't even get a center console. I don't get really anything. There is a cup holder on the back of the front center console that I guess I can utilize, but the big freaking bottle doesn't fit. Here's the back seat of a Prius C. It is a back seat that works. It will hold you in the vehicle. It will allow you to transport other individuals, but anything beyond that, and you're asking too much of the Prius C. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, we're on the back of the Prius C. Pop it open like that. The hatchback is the big selling point, which we'll talk about in a second. But once we are back here, some tire irons, things like that. Oh, and the car has shut off. No spare tire to be seen here, at least I don't think. Oh, there it is. There's a spare tire. All right, so we do get one, which is nice to see. And of course, these seats do fold down. So you pull it like that, pull it like that. And honestly, that is how I would keep the seats of the Prius C. It does have a little bit of a hump, so it's not completely flat, but you get some extra cargo space in doing so. Overall, that's the cargo space of a Prius C. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I actually don't mind the look of the Prius C. I do actually really like it in the orange color. I think it's kind of fun and interesting. This was a fleet vehicle, if you haven't been able to tell thus far, and so it was white, boring, and uninteresting. However, it is a hatchback. All Prius Cs are or were hatchbacks, and I wanted to talk about that as well because this car really is efficiency boiled down. In the 1970s and 80s, after the oil crisis, we started messing around with our cars, and a winning combination that we found was a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive hatchback. It maximized efficiency while maximizing interior space. If you do a little 4-door sedan, you lose all of that hatch space. And so this is the most efficient form of an automobile. And so let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Prius C? Well, like I said with the looks, this is efficient. It gets fantastic gas mileage. For the footprint of car, the interior space is at its absolute maximum. And I appreciate the designers and engineers over at Toyota maximizing that. They wanted to build a city car that would push the limits of a city car. And so the engine did that, the drivetrain did that, and the interior space did that. I think in those respects, this is kind of the perfect automobile. For one single person that has one single parking spot in a very congested, crowded area, fantastic fuel mileage. You're barely ever gonna have to fill it up. It's kind of the best. And over the 376,000 miles, there's only been a couple of issues, so let's talk about those. Issue number one, the radiator core support is welded in. It is not a bolt-in radiator. It is a welded-in radiator, which is fine for the last 375,000 miles. But the current owner had to swap that out, and it was an absolute pain. As you can see, this is his fix for the video. A new radiator and core and support is coming today. He's supposed to weld it in, but that is what we in the business call a job and a half. So be wary of that. Sure, in here, some of the plastics haven't aged amazingly, but it's also almost 400,000 miles, and this car has aged better than any other car at this mileage that I've driven. So it's really a non-issue. The biggest thing that we touched on earlier, and the Achilles heel of the Toyota Prius C, is the battery pack. This battery pack is a nickel battery pack. It's a 0.9 kilowatt hour battery, and it has started to go bad. The owner believes that 2 cells are going bad or have gone bad here in the Prius C. And that's bad news for this car, because that's probably what is going to end up keeping this car from the road. Now, right now, it's still functioning fine. The check engine light is on, and it's not happy about the situation. But the battery isn't going to get better overnight. It's actually going to get progressively worse until the vehicle no longer functions properly. And so you can buy a new battery pack. That's not really an issue. You could buy one from Toyota, and they'll install it. It's about $2,000. But this car was purchased for about $1,500. It might have been $1,700, but under $2,000. So you're gonna pay more for the battery pack than you did for the entire vehicle. And that leaves the Prius C in limbo. Do you put $2,000 into this car and you're still driving around a 376,000 mile car? Or do you sell it and cut your losses and hope that the next guy is gonna put the battery pack into it? So this car is just kind of existing for the moment, unsure of its future. And if you're looking at a Prius C with decently high mileage or of this vintage, you just might want to consider that. It might need a battery pack. The Honda Civic Hybrid that I drove from the early 2000s, that needed a battery pack. Heck, the normal Prius, it's a common issue that they end up needing battery packs. And so the question is, are you willing to put that money into it? If you are, great. If you're not, move along. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Carl for letting me take out his Prius C. I was actually very excited to do this video. Carl's been wonderful. I have reviewed so many of his cars for the channel. I've lost count. Got to be nearing 10 at some point. He's wonderful to work with, stand-up guy, and I appreciate him very, very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.